My dad cut me off while my daughter fought for her life in the ICU. I finally said no. Hi, I'm Logan, 36, and 3 days ago, I nearly lost my daughter. I was standing in a hallway outside the ICU, whispering breath counts to myself like some kind of prayer when my phone buzzed. Dad. Again. Third time that morning. I shouldn't have picked up, but I did. I said, Ava's in critical care. What do you want? And he replied like I told him I was stuck in traffic. Tomorrow's Chase's birthday. We need help setting up. I didn't yell. I just said, I can't. She's fighting for her life. He exhaled that sharp, shallow huff I've known since I was 9 and forgot to clean the gutters. Then you're cut off, he said. No hesitation. No soft landing. I paused, not because I didn't believe him, but because I'd always wondered if he'd ever say it out loud. And now he had. Cut off. From what? I asked. The pleasure of financing your cookouts? Click. I stared at the call log like it might rearrange itself into a better version of my father. Then I blocked his number and walked back into the room where my daughter slept in a maze of wires and sterile beeps. Ava is 8. Smart as a whip. Loves astrophysics and cartoon dinosaurs. She once asked me if black holes could get lonely. I told her yes, because everything wants to be seen. That night, her body was so still, I thought I might shatter just watching her. The machines breathed in time for her. I counted each puff like a failing stopwatch. At dawn, she stirred. Her lips barely moved. Dad, she whispered. About Grandpa. I leaned close, brushing hair from her damp forehead. What about him? I heard you. Her voice was dry paper. Don't be mad at me like that. I wanted to cry, but instead I smiled and said, You didn't do anything wrong. But she had cracked something open. And now the question wasn't if I could survive without my family, but if I ever really had one in the first place. Ava fell back asleep, but I didn't. I sat in that stiff vinyl chair and stared at the ceiling tile with the crack shaped like a question mark. I grew up in a house where helping out always meant paying up. I was the responsible one. The first to work, the last to ask for anything. My parents used to brag about that. Logan's steady. Logan's solid. What they meant was, Logan's useful. By the time I hit 23, I was covering my brother Chase's car insurance. At 26, I paid Mom's dental crown bill. At 30, I started pretending I had less money than I did because even my no sounded like a maybe to them. Chase is 7 years younger than me and allergic to everything except entitlement. He calls himself a serial entrepreneur, but his real skill is draining family members dry and calling it support. Last year, he asked if he could use my old Costco card for groceries. I said sure, because groceries. By month 3, he was buying protein powder and concert tickets. Bro, he texted when I froze the card. Was gonna pay you back. You didn't have to be like that. He still owes me $243 and the kind of apology you only get when someone realizes you're the bank and the bouncer. My dad? He's made a career out of pretending sacrifice is his native language while outsourcing the hard parts to me. And now, after years of quietly holding this family together with a wrench in one hand and a Venmo app in the other, I was the one being cut off. It would have been funny if it hadn't been so familiar. At noon, a nurse updated me, Ava was holding steady. They'd start weaning her off the oxygen that evening. I stepped out to the hospital's family lounge, the kind with 2 microwaves and a couch that feels like it judges you, and opened the family group chat. Latest messages. Mom. Chase wants pulled pork and potato salad. Bring sides. Chase. Projector link again. This one's 4K. Dad. Don't forget folding chairs. And the cooler. I stared at the screen until my eyes stung. Then I typed. Ava is in ICU. I will not attend the party. I will not pay for anything. Do not contact me today unless it is about Ava. 3 dots. Typing. Then. Dad. Your grandmother would be ashamed of how cold you are. Chase. Bro. It's one day. Don't make it about you. Mom. We're celebrating family. Stop trying to control us. I muted the thread. Then I changed passwords. Then I deleted old card links and started the process of locking down every single soft spot I'd let them feed off for a decade. Because it hit me like gravity that day, the law of energy was simple. You can't be the power source and the punching bag. Not anymore. That evening, while Ava's oxygen tapered and the doctor said the word stable, like it was a cautious wish, my father showed up. He didn't call first. He didn't ask if we were ready. He just marched into that room like he had a right to it. "Grow up," he said loud enough that the nurse looked over. I stood, slow and calm. "Lower your voice." He pointed a thick finger at my chest. "You embarrass your mother in the chat. You think you're some kind of hero because you pay a few bills?" My hands were steady, but my stomach felt like it had turned to metal. "Not a hero," I said. "Just someone with boundaries. You might want to Google that. Boundaries are just power plays dressed up like principles." He spat. "No," I said. "They're how I keep from being crushed under your expectations." The nurse peeked in. I waved her off. We stepped into the hallway. He tried to do that thing he does, shift the topic, widen the frame. "What about when we're old, Logan? You gonna just leave us to rot?" "If you mean will I help with health emergencies?" "Yes." "If you mean parties and debt and Chase's fireworks budget?" "No." He shook his head like I was speaking in binary. "You think you're better than us." I pictured Ava's small face under those blinking monitors. "I think I'm better than the version of me who used to confuse being useful with being loved." He didn't like that. His eyes sparked, and he stepped closer. "Ungrateful," he muttered. "Leave," I said. "You're scaring my child." He looked past me to the bed, to her little body, so still, her arms full of tubes. For a second, I thought maybe he'd soften. Maybe he'd cry. He didn't. He just turned and said the same line again like it was a curse or a spell. "Don't come crawling back." And I didn't. I walked back into Ava's room, sat beside her, and held her hand while the machines hummed the song of survival. It was quiet. It was hard. But it was mine. The next morning, Ava opened her eyes all the way. Not fluttering, not half the dream talking. Awake. "Hi," she croaked. "Hi," I said, and my voice cracked like it had been holding back a flood. She smiled a little. "We beat it." "Still fighting," I said. "But you landed the first punch." She nodded like a general being briefed. Then she asked, "Can we watch the robot show?" So we did. On my laptop. Subtitled, because the monitor beeps were enough background music for now. Around 11, I stepped out to refill water bottles and check email. There were 3 new messages. One from my principal. "Take the time you need. Ava comes first. Always." One from a parent. "My son finally understood torque because of your demo. Thank you." And one from my father. "Return the tools you borrowed." Borrowed. The drill I bought him when his old one smoked. The latter I stored in my trunk for 3 months because their gutters were rotting. The word felt like a rusty nail. I didn't reply. At 1 p.m. Chase called from an unknown number. I answered. I wanted the dignity of saying no out loud. "Well," he said. "You blocked me? Petty." Behind him, I heard music. The party had started. Laughter, clinking plates, one of those upbeat pop songs that thinks it's deep. "You at your birthday?" I asked. "Yeah. Mom says you're trying to ruin it." "I'm at the hospital," I said. "So dramatic," he sighed. "Anyway, projector guy won't take Dad's card." "Just put it on yours. I'll Venmo." "No." Silence. "You're really gonna do this to me?" he asked, like betrayal had a playlist and I just hit shuffle. "I'm really going to do this for me," I said. "And for Ava." He tried a new angle. "Grandma would want us together. Grandma would want you to grow up." He swore, then hung up. 2 hours later, a cousin I hadn't spoken to since last Christmas texted. "What did you do?" "Your dad's pacing." I typed nothing. Put my phone on airplane mode. By evening, the first photos hit social media. Chase with a sparkler, someone obviously charged. Mom in a tiara. Dad pretending to cut a Costco cake with a steak knife. All of them smiling like someone had died and left them a guilt-free estate. And for the first time ever, I didn't feel left out. I felt free. The next day, the real fallout began. At 8:17 a.m., my phone pinged with a family group chat notification I hadn't deleted yet, a voice memo from my dad. He didn't speak, he announced. Logan stole from his parents. We trusted him with accounts. He locked us out. Then Mom chimed in. He abandoned his family when we needed him most. Then Chase. Screenshots. Partial Venmo transactions. A photo of my Costco card next to a grocery receipt like he'd cracked open Watergate. And then the chorus arrived. Aunts. Uncles. Cousins with blurry profile pics and zero context. A teacher shouldn't act like this. Your father raised you better. Family is family. I didn't reply in the group. I wrote individual texts. To each of them. Ava was in ICU. I set boundaries. If you message me about anything else, I will mute you. Half of them stopped. 2 didn't. I blocked them. Then Chase escalated. Of course he did. A $900 DoorDash charge hit my closed gas card, the one I'd paid since I was 24 because it's easier to have one account. Then came 3 new subscriptions on the Amazon account I just locked. One for some overpriced motivational guru with a Ferrari fetish. Then the fraud alert from the bank. Suspicious activity? The rep asked. Yes, I said. Family misusing an old linked card. We went line by line. Cancelled, reissued, closed. She paused, like she recognized the pattern. We've got you, she said. Anything else we can secure today? My piece, I wanted to say. Instead, that's all. Thank you. That night, Mom called using Dad's phone because hers was blocked. You humiliated us, she began. Don't talk to me like I'm a stranger, I said. Or do. It might help. Chase's account bounced, she snapped. Because you turned off the automatic transfer. Do you know how that makes us look? I didn't turn it off, I said. I deleted it. Because I never agreed to it in the first place. You promise. I promise nothing. I asked for respect. You're selfish, she said. I'm a father, I said. And a teacher. I'm done being a wallet with arms. She went quiet. Then, the lowest blow she could muster. You learned that cold tone from your textbooks. No, I said. I learned it in a hospital hallway, after you said, don't bring that gloomy energy. Then I hung up. I put the phone down. And for the first time in years, I sat in a room without apologizing for taking up space. The next morning, I woke to a message from Aunt Liza, the only relative who's ever understood that silence is sometimes survival. I'm proud of you. They're mad because the story changed. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I didn't understand it, but because it was the first time anyone had named what I'd been feeling. It wasn't me who changed. It was the narrative. And I'd stopped playing the role they'd assigned me. Later that day, Ava was discharged. A volunteer wheeled her out of the ICU like she was royalty. Her blanket tucked neatly, a new stuffed bear in her lap. Sunlight hit her face and she squinted, then smiled. Home, she said. Home, I repeated like a spell. We drove slow. The kind of slow that says we're not rushing back into the chaos. We're building something different. She hummed along to the radio, and I made a terrible pun about photons. She groaned, Dad, and I nearly cried from how normal it sounded. At home, I made soup. I cleaned the kitchen twice. I set her new nebulizer in the center of the table like it was a championship trophy. She drew a comic, Ava versus the asthma monster, complete with a laser gun labeled Dad Jokes. Around 7 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Logan, it's Pastor Jim. Your parents asked me to reach out. I stared at the message. Then I called him. Pastor, I appreciate your concern, I said. But Ava was in the ICU. They made demands? I set boundaries. A pause. I'm sorry to hear about Ava, he said gently. Your father didn't mention that. Of course he didn't. Would you like me to tell him I spoke with you? Yes, I said. Tell him I said this, I love them. I'm not their bank. He sighed. I'll pass it along. 10 minutes later, a text. From Chase. His actual number this time. Dude. You got Pastor Jim involved? Narc move. I didn't, I replied. Dad did. Whatever. We need rent this month. Mom's freaking. Be a man. I typed slowly. Being a man isn't paying for boys. Then I muted his number. For a year. Not forever. But long enough for him to learn what silence actually costs. A week after the ICU, the noise finally dulled. Not disappeared, just distant. Like a train that used to pass by your bedroom window every night, and then one day, it doesn't. Not because the train changed. Because you moved the tracks. That morning, I opened Ava's window to let the air in. She was asleep on the couch under a galaxy blanket, breathing slow and steady. That sound used to terrify me, every inhale a prayer, every exhale a held breath. Now, it was music. Quiet, ordinary music. I made pancakes shaped like Saturn and Pluto, and gave them all absurd names. Ava woke up halfway through breakfast, and groggily pointed to one. "Is that Uranus?" she asked with a smirk. "It was," I said. "Now it's syrup-based comedy." She laughed. "Not the fragile, post-hospital kind. The real kind. The kind that says, I am still here, and so are you." We ate on the porch in our socks, watching neighborhood cats commit petty crimes in the flower beds. At noon, I opened my laptop to prep some curriculum notes, and saw a new message in my inbox. "Physics Regionals, would you like to lead the team this year?" I said yes. Not because I needed something extra, but because I finally had room. Not in my schedule, in my mind. The bandwidth I'd spent monitoring my family's whims and Chase's next disaster had been rerouted to my actual life. Ava drew us a banner with comets and equations that made no real sense but looked like magic. Later that day, I made a list. 2 columns. Simple. What I will do. Answer calls about health and safety. Show up for real emergencies. Make pancakes shaped like the solar system. Teach my daughter about friction and forgiveness. Be a person, not a role. What I will not do. Fund parties. Cover debts. Accept guilt as currency. Be a wallet with boundaries written in disappearing ink. I stuffed the list to the fridge, next to Ava's magnet art of a smiling neutron star. That evening my phone buzzed again. Not a new number. Not a scam. My dad. "We miss Ava. Let's talk." I replied, careful but not cold. "We can talk here," he called instead. I let it ring twice, then answered. He started soft. Always a bad sign. "How is she?" "She's good," I said. "Thanks for asking." Long pause. He wasn't used to exchanges that didn't pivot toward obligation. "We want to see her," he said. "Your mother misses her. You can. Under conditions." "What kind of conditions?" he asked, voice already bristling. "No money talk. No insults. No surprise visits. If you break the rules, visits stop." He exhaled. "That's extreme." "It's healthy," I said. "It just feels extreme because we've never done healthy before." He didn't argue. He tried silence instead, his favorite second tactic. I let it stretch. Finally, he cleared his throat. "What do you want us to do?" "Text me 2 dates that work. We'll meet in public. If it goes well, we'll try again." He hung up without answering. An hour later. "Sunday at 2? We met at the Botanical Gardens because Ava loves koi ponds. She wore her galaxy hat and carried her sketchpad like it was armor. My parents were waiting by the entrance, stiff but dressed nicely. Mom held a small stuffed star, gift shop, probably bought 5 minutes prior. She handed it to Ava like it made up for everything. Ava hugged it anyway. Because she's herself. We walked. We watched fish. Ava told them about her comic. I told them about regionals. Mom told a story about her grandmother I'd never heard because, usually, the stories were about bills and blame. No one brought up the party. Almost. As we were tossing crumbs into the pond, Mom said, "Maybe for your brother's next birthday." "Stop," I said gently. "We're here for Ava." She closed her mouth. Dad looked at a bench like it might save him. For an hour, we were a family. Not perfect. But ordinary. And that felt like a miracle. As we left, Dad said, "We want to do better." Not looking at me, just near me. "I'll respond to trying," I said. "Not to threats." He nodded once. No promises. Just the smallest movement in the right direction. Later that night, Ava and I built a spaghetti and marshmallow bridge on the kitchen table. It collapsed before we even tested weight. "I'm eating the apex," she declared, popping the marshmallow in her mouth. "You realize that's structurally reckless." She grinned. "You're structurally reckless." We both laughed. Then she got quiet. "Dad, do you think Grandpa will be nice now?" I paused. I thought about time as a vector. About force without acceleration. "I think," I said, "that if he wants to be in our lives, he'll have to learn how to be safe to be around. And if he doesn't, we can still love him. Just from far away." She seemed satisfied with that. The way kids are when you actually answer the question they asked, not the one you wish they had. A week later, Priya from my department brought me a sticky note that said, "You're allowed to be a whole person." I stuck it to my whiteboard and didn't take it down. Consequences kept unfolding like slow origami. My parents had to call the utility companies themselves. Chase, stripped of my safety net, hit the limits of his own. He texted a cousin for rent money. She sent me a screenshot with just, "He's making the rounds." My sister-in-law, Kara, who usually floats above family drama like a helium balloon, messaged me. He used my name at a pawn shop. They called me to verify. I said no. "Thank you," I replied. "He's freaking out," she added. "Mom told him to apologize." I asked, "Did he?" She wrote back, "Only if you agree to pay rent first." Classic Chase. Transactional remorse? I didn't reply. 2 months later, on a Tuesday evening, we were eating dinner when Ava looked up and said, "You didn't let Grandpa be mean." It wasn't a question. It was a fact. "I didn't," I said. And suddenly I wanted to cry. Not from pain. From relief. That she saw it. That I saw it. That this whole damn thing had moved. Later that night, after she went to bed, I replayed that hospital hallway in my mind, the call, the sentence. "Then you're cut off." I used to hear it like a door slamming. Now, it sounds like a hinge being replaced. The door still swings. But I choose when to open it. Ava asked me again the next day, "Dad, about Grandpa?" "We love people," I told her. "From a safe distance when they refuse to be safe up close." She nodded. "That makes sense." Then she asked if I could help her make a magnet-powered car. I said yes. Because I finally had the energy. And here's the ending. The one I wish I'd written sooner. I am not a bank. I am not an apology in advance. I am not the older brother whose job is to carry everyone else's mess like a family heirloom. I am a father, a teacher, and a man who finally learned that no is not the end of love. It's how you build a love that lasts. And this time, when I said it, I meant it. The end.